Now let's look at the first set. Okay, this is slot 3, obviously, as we discussed. It is one of the toughest sets. Let's see how it goes. Okay, there are only 3 female students, Amla, Kohli and Rini, and only 3 male students, Biman, Matthew and Shamal in the course. The course has 2 evaluation components, project and test. The aggregate score in the course is a weighted average, right, of the 2 components, with the weights being positive and adding to 1. 1 means 100%. So if one of them is 0.5 means 50% weightage. If one of them is 0.6, it is 60% and 40% weightage and so on. Okay. The projects are done in groups of 2. The projects. So right now we're talking about projects, not the tests. We have 2 components, project and test. Don't forget that. Alright. With each group consisting of a female and a male. Good. So 1 female, 1 male. This is the group. This way we will have 3 groups. Why? Because there are 3 females, 3 males. So 3 groups for project. Not for the test, project. Test is independent for all of them. Test is free for all of them. Both the group members obtain the same score. Nice, that's good. Then we have the following additional facts are known about the scores in the project and the test. First condition, the minimum, maximum and the average of both project and test scores were identical. That is 40, 80 and 60 respectively. Wow, this is such a nice information. You know, for project anyways it is finished. At least the possible scores we know. Because it says minimum is 40, maximum is 80 and average is 60, which is visible also. 40, 80 and 60, these are the values that we have. Okay. So very clearly for 3 groups, one of them will score 40, one of them will score 80 and one of them will score 60. That is very clear for project. For test, we will have to work a little bit more. The test scores of the students were all multiples of 10. We are talking about test now. So the first one was the generalized thing. Now we are talking about test. And 4 of them were distinct. And the remaining 2 were equal. Okay, that is a very good information that we have. This is our starter information. It's very important to identify the starter information. So this becomes our starter information. Amla's score in the project was double that of Kohli in the same, but Kohli scored 20 more than Amla in the test. So this is a technical information, right? Shamal scored the second highest in the test. He scored 2 more than Kohli, but 2 less than Amla in the aggregate. Okay, so it's again a technical information. We'll use it at a later stage of the process. Biman scored the second lowest in the test and the lowest in the aggregate. So this is not directly useful. This is clearly directly useful. Matthew scored more than Rini in the project, but less than her in the test. All right. So let's create our table. So we have pretty clear information that we have. Let's go to the next page where we have some space and I have written only the important part of information of this. 3 female, Amla, Kohli, Rini. 3 male, Biman, Matthew, Shamal. Project and test. There are 2 components of the whole examination system. Aggregate is a weighted average of 2 components with weights being positive and adding up to 1. As I said, if one of them is 0.2, the other one will be 0.8. If one of them is 0.3, other one will be 0.7, the weightage. In a project, there is a female and a male, both same score in the project. Great. Minimum, maximum and the average of both project and test scores were identical. That is 40, 80 and 60 respectively. I think this is where we start first for project. Because there are only 3 groups. So one group will score 40, one group will score 80, one group will score 60. Then only it is possible. Otherwise it is not possible. So I'll write like this. In project, in one group we have 2 people. In another group we have 2 people. And in another group we have 2 people. I'll write in terms of score. The highest score is 80, 80 for 2 people. Then 60, 60 for 2 people. And 40, 40 for 2 people. There is no other possibility. You see, when do I say that the maximum score is 80? Only when somebody has scored it. When do I say minimum score is 40? Only when somebody has scored it. So one group has to score 80, one group has to score 40. Right? And in the question it is given the average is 60. If it was not given, we would have calculated it to be 60, right? The average is 60. That means the third group has no other option. You know, for example, can I take 50 here instead of 60? Can I take 50 here? If I take 50 here, will the average of all the scores be equal to 60? No, it is not possible. So the third group has to score 60, 60 only. right? I hope that is clear. It's a very beautiful average concept. Okay. Now let's talk about the test. In the test, it says, in the test, what does it say? It says multiples of 10, beautiful information. 4 were distinct. Oh, here also, even in test scores, the minimum is 40, maximum is 80. So what are the values? Let me write all of them. 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. How many are these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And I want 4 of them to be distinct and the average to still land at 60. How is that possible? I want the average to be 60 only. See, for these 5 values, the average is 60. But even if I make it 6 and still maintaining the multiple of 10, the 6th one, what should be the 6th value so that the average is still 60? That is possible only if this repeated value is 60. If I take the repeated value as 80, let's see what happens. Add 80 and 80, 160 and 70, 230 and 60, 90, 340 and 380. Divide by 6, it will be more than 60. So average will not be 60 if I take it as 80. What if I take this as 40? Check that. We have to understand that these are the only possible values of a score and only one of them is going to be repeated because 4 are distinct, 2 are equal, right? So we are just trying to identify which one is the equal one, where average is given. So if you add now, what will it be? It will be 340. So 340 divided by 6, is it equal to 60? No, it is less than 60. Basically, if I put 60 there, then only the average is going to be 60. Check that. If I put 60 here, then what happens? Now we have 6 values, add them, 360, 360 divided by 6, 60. So what does that mean? The possible scores in test are 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 and 60. So 60 is going to be twice. So I'll write that in the order. 80, 70, 60, 50, 40. 60 has to come twice. 60 has to come twice, right? And then 50 and then 40, right? So till now it is absolutely clear. Okay, now the next part. Amla scored double that of Kohli in the project. In the project, scores are either 80 or 60 and 40. Now we, suppose I say male, female, male, female, male and female. Because in project, the pairs have to be like male and female. Okay. Now there is only one possibility of one number being double of the other. It cannot be 80, 60, it cannot be 60, 40. It has to be 80 and 40. So just we have clarified, Amla is a girl, female, and Kohli is also a female. Nice, that's good. So Amla, double of Kohli, that means Amla has to be 80, right? And Kohli has to be 40. That is very, very clear. Oh, I wrote in front of male. So just put it carefully. I'll remove these. These are not required. Okay. So Amla is a female here and Kohli is a female here. Very good. So what does that mean? Now female, only one spot is remaining. So this has to be Rini. This has to be Rini because there are only 3 females. Amla, Kohli. That's why I'm checking male, female every time, right? So Amla, Kohli and Rini are fixed at their positions in project scores. Fantastic. Let's go ahead. And in project, Kohli scored 20 more than Amla in test. Now, Kohli scored 20 more. So it could be 80-60 or 70-50 or 60-40. So here it is not very clear. But what we know is, I'll write Kohli scored 20 more than Amla. So Kohli in test, Kohli is equal to Amla plus 20. I'll just let it be here. Let it be here. Okay? Amla plus 20. Okay. Now, what is the next information that we have? Amla has highest aggregate score. Oh, so one thing is very clear that if Amla has 80 here, then here also it should be slightly higher side only. It cannot be the lowest. But yeah, still nothing clear from here. Nothing clear from here. Okay. Shamal is, so I'll just mark this as this is an important information, but we have not been able to use it. Shamal second highest in test. Shamal second highest, is it? Second highest in test. So Shamal has to be 70, very clearly. This has to be Shamal. Right. Good. Let's go ahead. Second highest test. He scored 2 more than Kohli and 2 less than amla in aggregate. Oh wow, this is a good information. Let me write that first. Shamal has scored 2 more than Kohli. So the difference here is 2. See, the aggregate is not necessary to be a multiple of 10 because it will be multiplied by x, 1 minus x and so on. So the weighted average is something that we are talking of. And 2 less than amla. So amla, the difference between the aggregate score we are talking about, this is about aggregate score. Aggregate score. So here also, so between amla and Kohli, the difference is 4. The difference in weighted average score of amla and Kohli is 4. Right, that is a good information. In fact, we could use it now. Let's assume that the weightage of test is x. Then the weightage of project will be 1 minus x. Right? Weightage of project will be 1 minus x. Now watch it very carefully. What are we going to do? I'll just change the colors to make sure that we are doing a different process here. How do I calculate the scores? If I assume Kohli's score as x, then Amla's score will be, or Amla's score as x, if I assume Amla's score to be x, right? Amla's score to be x. Then Kohli's score will be x plus 20. That is in test. But we cannot repeat x. Okay, so let's change the variable there. Let's change the variable there. Let's take it as y and y plus 20 because x is already used. So y and y plus 20. Now, calculate the weighted average of Kohli and Amla. What will be the weighted average of Amla? Try and understand that. Amla's score is y, weightage is x. So, I'll use this space, x into y, right? Then Amla's score in project is 80 and weightage is 1 minus x. So, plus 1 minus x into 80, right? This is Amla's aggregate score. Just focus on this. This is Amla's aggregate score. Now, Kohli's aggregate score. How do I calculate Kohli's aggregate score? Test score is y plus 20 and weightage is x. So, Kohli aggregate score. It is x into y plus 20 and Kohli's score here is 40 and the weightage is 1 minus x. So, plus 40 into 1 minus x. You need to understand that the difference between these two is 4. The difference between these two is 4. Okay. So, how do I use it? Subtract. If you subtract x into y, I'll write that. X into y plus 1 into 80 minus x into 80. Right. This is Amla's aggregate minus Kohli's aggregate. What is Kohli's aggregate? X into y plus x into 20. Right. Plus 40 minus 40x, right? The difference of these two has to be equal to 4. Now just open the bracket and solve, you will get the value of x. I'll just show it to you. This is minus sign in between. So x and y, x, y cancelled. 80 minus 40, that is 40. And 80x minus 20x plus 40x, right? So what do we have? Minus 80x, is it correct? Yeah, minus 80x. Minus 20x, so minus 100 plus 40, that is minus 60x. So we have 60x, okay, and that is equal to this minus 40 goes to the other side. So 80 minus 40, that is 40, 40 minus 4, that is 36. So everything else is cancelled and simplified. We get 60x equal to 36. So what we have? X is equal to 36 upon 60. You will have to do it on a different page or a different space. Okay, that's why I changed the color so that you can focus on blue color thing right now. And it is 3 by 5. So we have got the weightage of test, that is 3 by 5, that is 60%. And the project will be 1 minus x, that is 2 by 5, which is 40%. Fantastic. So I'll write it here. It is 3 by 5. So now I'll remove this x. Okay, I'll remove that x and I'll remove that 1 minus x, right? And I will put the value 3 by 5, which is 60% weightage. 2 by 5. Always remember, you have to do LR questions with a lot of patience. Okay? Okay, this is done. Now, I need space. So this process is very clear. The idea was very clear. I'll just repeat that idea. Calculate the aggregate of A, that is Amla. Calculate the aggregate of Kohli. The difference of their aggregate score should be 4. How did we get that? From this statement. Fine. Now I'm going to remove the things that I have written in blue, right? So that we have some good space. So I'm going to remove this, everything that we did for calculation of weightages. So this is done. We have the weightages with us. Now how do we go about it? Now it becomes a little technical. Only one more step of technicalities. After that, everything will fall in place. Okay. I'll keep this. In fact, I'll remove this because the upper information we already have. Now, what do we have? Let's see. Do we have one more information? Yes. Biman is second lowest in test. Biman is second lowest in test. So this value is Biman. This is a fixed information. I am going back to that yellow color just to show that this was a fixed information from beginning itself. It was there. Matthew more than Rini in project. Matthew more than Rini. More than Rini. So, oh, this has to be Matthew. That is nice. Matthew is more than Rini in project. But less than her in test. Less than her in test. So, Matthew is more than Rini in project. Less than her in test. So, this can be Matthew. If this is Matthew, then this can be Rini. This cannot be Matthew. So, Matthew has to be below somewhere here. Okay. So, I think it is not very clear. It is not very clear as of now as I see. So, now we will come back to this information that aggregate of, where is it? Shamal's aggregate. We have compared Kohli and Amla's aggregate. Now, we will compare Shamal's aggregate with any one of them because we know the score of Shamal, right? And Shamal's score here, it can be either 60 or 40. Do you see that? Matthew Amla, so this pair is completed for project. Here the male place is empty, here the male place is empty. So one of them has to be Shamal. So we'll take one by one and check. We'll take one by one and check. Okay. Kohli is 40. Here we don't know what is Kohli. So we'll check for both of them one by one. Let's see. First, if I assume, again I'll take blue color. If I assume this one to be Shamal, okay, this 60 to be Shamal and 80 to be Kohli. Just remember that I've taken blue color just to show that again we are assuming this and then we'll keep changing the combination very clearly. Now we have all the scores for Kohli and all the scores for Shamal. We need to calculate the weighted average. So if I calculate it for Kohli, what will be the weighted average of Kohli? Just do that. 80, 60%, that will be 48. And here 40, 40%, that will be 16. Do we understand that? So it is equal to 56. What about Shamal? Shamal will be 70, 60%, that is 42. And here 60, 40%, that is 24. Right? 48 plus 16 is not 56. Wait a second. 48 plus 16 is 54 or 64. I'm sorry, 64. And 42 plus 24 is 66. Oh wow, the first case itself is valid. That's nice. First case itself is valid. Let's check the other cases. Let's check the other cases. We will not have to do much effort because, just understand, if I remove this Shamal from here and if I put Shamal here, then will this same situation hold? I think pretty clearly it won't hold. Do you see that? Check that carefully again. If I put Shamal here, then this value will not remain 66. It will reduce. Just check that. 70, 60%, that is still 42. And 40% will become 16. 40% will become 16, right? So this is equal to 42 plus 16, which is 58. And Shamal is here, that is 66. The difference is not 2. So this is definitely wrong. So one thing that is very clear is that one clear combination is this situation. I will put it back. Shamal here and Kohli here. Okay. Same way, if I keep Shamal here and I change Kohli, then what happens? Again, it is very clear. Just I'll take one more color and what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove Kohli from here and I take Kohli at some other place. See, if I put Kohli here at 60, Then clearly, I think it goes without saying that Shamal will not remain at this place. Otherwise, the difference will not be 2. Let's take it at some other place. We have here Shamal here. That is not going to be possible. So we are not even going to check that. Okay. Now, if I've taken Kohli as 60 and Shamal at 40 here, check the aggregate score of Kohli first. 60, 60%, 36. Okay. 40, 40%, 16. 36 plus 16, 52. Right. What about Shamal? 70, 60%, 42. And 40, 40%, 16. 42 plus 16, how much is that? 58. Right? 36 plus 16, 52, 58. Is the difference 2? Nope. And there is no other possibility. So what does that mean? Okay, so that means I think it's pretty clear that Kohli cannot be 60. And you cannot take Shamal further, so you cannot take Kohli further. So there is no point in checking further. So very clearly, I think now, see, you have to understand that we have checked all possibilities. Now there is no other scope of any other possibility. There was one case that we got it correct, and that is there on the board right now. So we'll go back to that, and I'll go back to that blue color. We say Kohli is here and Shamal is here. That's the only possible situation. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up this space also, and I'm going to create a separate table for aggregate score. We already have the aggregate score for Kohli, it was 64. For Shamal, it was 66. Right? Yes. Is there anything else that we can fill here? Matthew Amla is done. Shamal Rini is done. That means at this place there is only one person left. Who is that? Biman. Biman has to come here. All right. Anything else that we can fill now? Yes. Kohli is A plus 20. So Amla's score in test has to be 80 minus 20. That is 60. Fantastic. So it is Amla is here. Nice. Very good. Let's calculate aggregate score of Amla. Can we do that? Amla 60 ka 60%, that is 36. And Amla is here 80 ka 40%, that is 32. How much is that? 68. Amla is 68. Did we need to do that? Did we need to do that? I don't think so. Why? Because we already have Shamal's aggregate score. So Amla's score has to be 2 more than that. That is 68. And that also shows that everything that we have done till now is absolutely perfectly fine. Okay. Now, who else is left? Kohli, Shamal, Amla, Biman are done. Matthew and Rini are remaining. Matthew and Rini, I think there was an information about Rini. Matthew, more than Rini in project, but less than her in test. Very clearly. Matthew less than Rini. So Rini has to be here. Matthew has to be here. And this is supposedly one of the toughest sets of LR in CAT 23. This is the third slot. Okay. This is the first set of the third slot. Yeah, it is a good question. Saying just writing it off as a difficult set, I would disagree. Such a beautiful set, such a beautiful process. Remember, one of the biggest friends that you have is elimination process, right? And that's what we used very clearly. In fact, the explanation of this question can be actually taken as a concept class. So if you're going through the video, if there is any trouble, repeat it again. You can always get back to me if there is still a doubt. But yeah, the process has to be like this. This is not hit and trial. There is a difference in hit and trial and checking all options. We have checked all options and we have started from one side and then we have gone to the other side, right? There's no randomness in this. The biggest enemy that you have in your LR is randomness. We have checked from the largest and gone down. There was no other possibility. So we came back to the correct one that we already had. Right. So let's see what questions do we have. And that's the beautiful part of LR, that once you're done with the data derivation, then you only have to answer the questions just by looking at the values that you have. What was Rini's score in the project? Rini's score in the project. Rini score in project 60. Fantastic. So this is 60. Right. What was the weight of the test component? Test component. Test component is 3 by 5 in fraction or 60% in percentages. Let's check it. What was the weight? 60%, 3 by 5, 3 by 5 in decimal. Okay, this is 0.60. Nice. 0.60, option C is the correct answer. Very good. What is the next question? What was the maximum aggregate score obtained by the students? Maximum aggregate. Maximum aggregate was which one? That way I think we have already done. That is maximum. Anyways, we knew it is Amla, right? Amla is the highest aggregate and the aggregate is 68. So we don't even need to calculate the others as of now at least. So Amla has to be the answer and that is 6. Oh, so value is 68. So average aggregate is 68. Nice. What was Matthew's score in the test? Matthew's score in the test. Go back, check. Matthew's score in the test. Oh, that was the last one that we had decided, isn't it? 40. Fantastic. I feel so excited about these sets that they actually check your ability to think. This is one of those sets, 40. Anyways, which of the following pairs of students were part of the same project team? Same project team. Amla and Biman, Kohli and Matthew. Check that. Amla, I don't remember. Amla, Bimal. Wait a second. Amla, Biman. Amla, Biman. Amla, Biman. Oh, Amla, Matthew. Amla, Matthew. Amla, Biman is wrong. Amla, Biman is wrong. Very good. Kohli, oh, just now we said Amla, Matthew, so Kohli, Matthew has to be wrong. Okay, so once you have that entire derivation in front of you on your sheet, you can check everything. So what is the answer of this question? None of them. None of them. Neither one nor two. Option A. Right? Such a beautiful set comes to an end.